Well, the part is, I'm not the physicist. My dabbling into the physics really came up with a support for all this. But then when I heard Tom say, yes, we come into this life in this virtual reality, I go, okay, we're talking the same thing. And what's so interesting about it is, exactly as Tom talked about, I saw this as a great video game, that I jump into this character. And what's really interesting is, because I mentioned earlier, I said, as far as we know, we didn't pick our genes. If you can go back upwards and say, what am I going to do when I jump into this character, is that I set up a script to run a show. And I set up a script by picking parents and picking my genes and picking all these things. It's sort of like when the video game started to get more complex. Not only were you a character, before you play the game, you say, well, it was like one of the military ones is usually say, well, before you jump in the game, you can have a choice of 4 rockets, 6 hand grenades, 3 of these things and those things. So you pick these things before you jump into the game. And once you jump into the game with those, then you have to play the game with what you've just selected. So what I saw was, oh my God, we come in with a vision to learn something, to create something, to manifest something. And in that process, then we selected the genes, we selected our family, we selected all the aspects of this because you jump into the game. But then the problem is, once we jump into the game, we forget that we're the player of the game. We become the piece in the game. And then if you stay inside the piece, you lose the contact that you're far greater than the piece itself. And so the issue is being the piece, recognizing that we jumped in and we get programmed, and then we play out the program, leads to a very interesting and humorous insight. The movie The Matrix is not science fiction, it's a documentary. And it says that it's time for us to wake up. That we have bought other people's truths and other people's beliefs and manifested a world rather than coming with our own beliefs. Mm-hmm. And that when we give up our power to buy other people's knowledge, then we bought their reality and we manifest their reality. And why this is so important is when I try to tell people in the new biology, you are creating this life, and most of them go, I wouldn't create this, you know, war, violence, all this kind of stuff. And I go, well, you're creating it, but you let go of creative control because you bought into other people's beliefs about that control. But I said, I bet you what, though, there was a time in your life where you probably fell in love. And when you fell in love, there was a period which I refer to as the honeymoon. A honeymoon is a period that in most people is exemplified by being in exuberant health, having tremendous energy, you know, making love for days without stopping for food or sleep and all that kind of stuff. And that life was so beautiful in that honeymoon that you couldn't wait for the next day to have more experience like that in this honeymoon. And I said, well, was that tantamount to creating heaven on earth? And the answer is yeah. Then I say, that was not an accident, that was not a coincidence. That was actually an understanding when you operated from your conscious wishes and desires and overrode your subconscious programming. For the first time in your life, you actually empowered your life with your wishes and desires and created heaven on earth. That honeymoon generally comes to an end when you get so busy that you let go of that and you will get back into the automatic programming of your life, and that honeymoon seems to dissipate at that point. The fact was what? You created heaven on earth. All of us could do that every day of our lives. And so if we understood how we did it, we could, and understand, of course, why we lost it. There's then the understanding is that you could come back and then do this as a perpetual existence on this planet, to live in a state of the honeymoon, to be healthy, happy, and be so creative that you can't wait for the next day to have more. You've already done it once, and we can do it on and on. What we need is the information that Tom offers, because we have to say with more assurity, because as Tom also brought this up, the civilization that we live in is based on what is called materialistic scientism. And it basically says that we buy our truths in this civilization from science because we recognize them as the truth provider. Is it scientific? Oh, well, that means it's true. Well, we bought our truths from these people. And the fact is, what we have to recognize is that conventional truths, which are based on a Newtonian world of a mechanism and physical reality, are not the reality that Tom is speaking about, that the quantum physicists even knew about in the 1920s when they talked about the whole thing was consciousness in the first place. When the public understands Tom's message, when the public can take Tom's message, integrate it with my message, then what they've already done is recognize, oh my God, I'm an Earth rover, here to create, here to experience, and here to manifest the love which is I find from my biological pursuit and which Tom finds from his physics pursuit to still be the most fundamental element of both of these sciences. And when they come together and love manifests on this planet, we are already engaged in the next higher level of human evolution.
Yes.
So that's it. That's
the end of the story. Okay, we're finished.